Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me and Maureen, who will be joining me momentarily to read her Where I'm From poem number 27. Um, I just did a different conversation about memoir. So, this is what I've been reading. I mentioned it in my last Where I'm From, that I was reading Body Work by Melissa Febo. So, I've read it now. And I highly recommend it, especially if you are a writer and you suffer in your own way because you think your story isn't worth telling. It's a really empowering book. Hi, Maureen.
Hi, Ashlyn. Did I just pronounce my name right or wrong?
I think you just called me Ashlyn, but I'm Alyson.
You
Ashlyn is
are
also
Allison.
a
I was
nice
like, wait,
name.
did I just hear the wrong name?
Oh, you caught it really fast though. I was like, do I say something? Like I'm just gonna let it go, but you did, so that was
No, no.
easy.
I have a niece, Ashlyn, and I don't
No.
know why her name just always pops up. So my
Well, you
bad.
have a
Oh,
huge family. You must have many nieces named many things. I would.
um, I think we're up to 30 now. 30
Oh my
nieces and
God.
nephews.
Wow. Do you have
Yeah.
family reunions with all those people?
We haven't had one for a while. It's been a long
Well,
time.
yeah,
It's hard to get people together anyway, but
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, um,
COVID.
yeah, that, sadly, it's mostly weddings and funerals.
Funerals. Yeah.
So,
So, is there anything you want to say, Maureen, before you read your poem, or do you want to just go for it?
do you know what's really funny? I was all ready. I was like, I'm cool. I've got my work done. The dog is walked. He's actually calm. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
I'll go grab a water and use the bathroom. So I go to in the bathroom, and there was a frog inside the toilet bowl.
Wow. Does that
Wait, what?
happen regularly?
No, no, I'm on the second floor of my home. Like, how did the frog get up here? Like, well,
Wow.
no, I was like, wait, what? So of course I had to get the frog out of the toilet,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then the dog got excited, and then
Yeah.
running down the stairs.
Yeah. I
So
love frogs, but I would not want one in my toilet. It wouldn't happen here, I don't think.
I
Knock
mean,
on
I don't know
something.
what happened here.
I've seen them in drinking fountains here, like little tiny ones, like underneath the
It wasn't even like a baby tree frog. It was kind of a decent sized
huge.
frog, like beige. I was like, what? What?
That's really surreal. I mean,
I
that
mean,
must have
seriously.
been sort of like a absurdist moment. Like, am I on camera? Did someone put this frog in
I,
here?
was- well, when I first thought it was, I was like, somebody
Yeah.
implanted a voice. I was like,
Right,
what?
right.
So, when it's just bizarre, right?
That is
Now,
bizarre.
and now I'll never stop thinking about, like,
Right.
how did the frog get to the second floor toilet?
I mean, through the plumbing. So, I mean, they can just kind of go wherever, I guess. I didn't really.
Just come up through the water?
It's like that old urban legend of like crocodiles coming up through how people used to like, I think that was really the 80s where it was like, oh, if you move to Manhattan, like there might be a crocodile in your like, do you remember that? Or is that just something they said out
I
here?
don't. No, I don't remember all that. But
That was like something in LA. They're like, don't move to New York. You will definitely have an alligator in your toilet. I don't
oh,
know.
that was total, like, that's New York, like, phobia or something from,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I experienced that. But I feel like that, I think it was probably in a movie too. Like
It's
some B
probably,
movie.
yeah, I'll probably Google that and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to know.
Yeah. Some B movie. But now you have frogs, and hopefully that will be your only frog
Well,
that's
that
around.
frog is now outside, so safely happy in the bush with the sunshine again.
Yeah. Well, I can see why you'd want to share that before you share your poem. Get it,
I
just
mean,
get it out.
I was like, wait, what?
I think it's a good story about best laid plans. It's like, okay, I've got it
Yeah,
all organized. I'm ready to go. Oh,
yeah, yeah.
just a minute.
These things happen. So,
Mhm.
well, I
Yeah.
really appreciate you having me on.
Oh,
So,
I'm so happy you were able to join me, Maureen. And thank
oh,
you. You supported Reburn, and I really appreciated that. Everybody who did that, I remember you, and I will always be grateful. So thank you for doing
yeah,
that.
you're such a badass comic. I mean, all the women on that whole project was. How do you not like support? I'm all about lifting women up. So,
We're very proud of it. I'm so grateful.
as you should be. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
I mean, I kept
Thank you.
opening my packages going,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, yeah, and I'm happy to support, always happy to support poetry.
Yes, you made such a nice graphic for our chat today. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was very kind of, oh, it's so nice to see some nice comments and about that
Hmm.
too. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
hi, Lena. Hi, my mom. My
Hi,
mom
Lena.
is Zora.
Oh, nice. Hi,
Yeah.
Zora.
That's
Zora.
not her name anymore, but it was once. So she
Zora the
uses it.
zebra.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. So,
Somebody in the writing on, somebody is writing a story about zebras,
mm.
and their mother.
Oh, that's
Um,
funny. It's not me.
no, it's not you. It's somebody in the binders group that's
Oh,
writing a story, a memoir about the zebras play a big part of her story, and it's her mother's memoir.
oh, interesting.
That's interesting. Oh, I can't remember who it is. So
Hi,
many
Lena.
wonderful,
Right.
wonderful binders.
I know. I know. Um,
I'm just tongue twisted today. I just said binders.
I know what you were talking about. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah. No
Hopefully, I can get
confusion.
through this poem without like.
Well, no one can see it, so you can just play it off.
I don't even care. I'm like, you get to 60, and then you just things, things don't matter as much, and you don't put as much weight on things.
I feel that now even more
Mhm.
than I used to. It's just kind of like, and if somebody takes it real seriously, then they're probably not for you. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
if somebody can't sort of laugh through it and I don't know, just chalk it up to life, then they're probably a little too intense for me.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
fine.
There's a lot of intense people out there.
There are, I get it. I used to be more intense. It was a coping mechanism, wanting to
Yeah.
control things because
Oh,
things felt out of control.
sure.
Um,
I think control is a very hard thing to let go of.
it is. It feels safe. It gives the illusion of safety,
It
I
does.
think.
Hmm. A
Yeah.
lot of things. Yeah. A lot of
Hmm.
things. Hmm.
But it's a lot, I feel a lot more like relaxed, not holding it so tightly. I will sometimes revisit that part of myself and it's like, wow, did I live like this all the time? That's a lot of stress.
Stressful. It's hard to
So
maintain.
stressful.
It's hard to maintain that.
Yeah. Yeah, especially as you grow older. It's easier when you're younger because you can do all sorts of bad things when you're younger. But as you get older, it's more difficult to do those things without really paying a price for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, you also get to a point where, we don't have as much time as we think we have.
Yeah.
So you have to just say, okay, yeah,
Is this really worth it?
let
Like,
that go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how important is it? And
Hmm.
oftentimes the answer is not very, not at all.
Exactly.
So, okay, then I
Yeah.
should be able to just let it go.
Yeah. I feel like for me, like meditation really helps
Me too.
me release that whole anxiety and I need to be in control.
Yeah. I mean, you have what is the right verbiage? You have beaten, you have survived, you have lived through a cancer
Um,
diagnosis. What do you prefer?
it's really hard to say that. I mean, I want to say survivor, and sometimes I use the word warrior,
Yeah,
and sometimes, I mean, I'm still dealing. I'm not
right,
compromised,
right.
but I can't ring that bell yet.
Right.
So I'm kind of living through it still. Certainly have a lot of, repercussions from all of that. And when
Of course.
I have like 7 years to go before I can ring the bell. So,
Wow. And how many years are you in?
three.
3. Oh,
Hmm.
wow. So
Three.
I probably got to know you right
Yeah.
close to that
Sorry, that's my
time.
phone.
Wow.
Yeah, three since my diagnosis, and then um, yeah, I've been off any treatment since like June 2020. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's good.
congratulations. I'm
Thank
always
you.
sort of like whatever word everyone prefers, because I don't want to
Yeah,
imply that those who have not beaten cancer are not warriors, because
right, right.
everyone who is
As,
dealing with that diagnosis is a warrior, regardless of the outcome.
yeah, there's a lot of it's interesting. A lot of stories people say, oh, that warrior word should not be used.
Mhm.
But I think whatever makes you feel good,
Right? Whatever's empowering, I think should be, and I think it's just important to note, like, it's not like you're saying other people aren't. That's not what
Correct.
I'm saying,
Yes.
you know?
Hmm.
Um, but I think you are definitely.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
No. And your like attitude toward it, the way you've shared about it, the way you talk about it, it's very transparent, but also empowering. And um, I think I personally, my experience, because it's all on social media, my
Yeah.
experience is that you walk that line of like, yes, this is part of who I am, but it's not the totality of myself. And I think that's a line many of us walk with our different parts of ourselves. We
Hmm.
want to talk about those things, but we don't want it to be like, that's all we are.
Right. I even started, I think I looked at one of my social media bios and I pulled it out because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
it could be like my defining,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm writing a story about it. So I have, you know, but I don't want to be like, oh, I'm just, cancer. And it's interesting. I chose to go social with it. I don't even know why I did. I was not, I was very fearless about that. And I have a friend whose sister-in-law just passed. She didn't survive her cancer. And I have a dear friend who just died. And they went very quickly. Like they didn't even stand a chance. And, which is the saddest thing, but it does happen. But they were very private about it and didn't want to, you have to respect that. Like
Mm-hmm.
we all decide. For me, I was like, oh, no big deal. Like, let me show people how this is done. You know?
Well, you are. You are showing them how it's done. So,
Showing them.
so bravo.
Let me show you how this is done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. That's a good intro. Would you like to read your poem?
I would love to read my poem. Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
Thank you. I am from Buttercream Yellow Kitchen Walls, from a General Electric Avocado Green Stove, and the Good Housekeeping Cookbook. I am from Tiger Lilies pushing up against the chain link fence, erect, orange, between patches of urine-soaked lawn from the dogs. I am from the Rose of Sharon, the neighbor's elm, whose limbs stole across our yard, blanketing pollen like snow every spring. I am from Easter baskets and hand-me-downs, Mary Margaret and Patrick Dixon. I'm from the Get That Dog Out of Here's and Be Home Before the Streetlights Are On, from Sit Still and Hurry Up. I'm from the Three Rivers and the Terrible Towel, chipped ham from Bob's Grocery 2 doors down, and tuna noodle casseroles. From the belt my father wielded like power, from my mother immunizing the sick and poor. I'm from Bless Me, Father, for I have sinned, Hail Mary, full of grace, Jesus on the cross in every room, and candles lit for the deceased and fallen. I'm from Pride and Hope, vats of scrambled eggs for dinner, fish on Fridays. From the woman who birthed and raised 6 boys and 6 girls, mostly alone, with no regrets.
I read that last line and my jaw dropped. I knew you were from a big family, but it was like, that's and where do you fall in the birth order, Maureen?
10 of 12.
So young or
Yeah,
or
10, yeah.
10th.
The 10th of the, yeah.
Wow.
And then the 11th and 12th were twins.
Oh my God.
Right? Can you imagine? First of all,
No,
I
I
have
can't.
I have no children, so I've never birthed a child. But like, come on, 11 times you did that, mom. Like,
Right.
mom.
No, and she probably had miscarriages with that amount of
She might have. If
pregnancies,
she did, we probably never.
Right now. But
Well, if she did, I would be a surprise. We're very closely,
close.
yeah, like 15 years, like
Oh
12
my
kids. Yeah,
God.
boom, 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 boom. She was like pregnant for like 16 years of her life, like
Oh my God.
nonstop.
I can't fathom that
I know. I can't even.
at all.
It's me either. I'm like,
It's a Herculean feat. Is that how we
yes,
say that?
that's a great
Herculean.
word for that.
Yeah. And I don't think women get enough like
Wow.
applause for or what a word it is. Kudos.
Right.
High fives.
Yeah, yeah. She deserved all that and then some.
Yeah. And a
Yeah.
lot of that felt familiar to me, even though we're not the same age, avocado and buttermilk and all the Catholic, my brothers were raised Catholic. I was not. So all of that sort of feels
Yeah.
familiar. It's such a powerful culture,
It
Catholicism.
is. I feel interesting how I'm not involved with the Catholic Church anymore. My family, many of my family members are still, um, but writing about that, I felt very protective of it,
Mm.
even though I don't and want to be a part of it anymore. And it felt like a very inclusive kind of like feeling writing about my family and our traditions and our lifestyle and um, yeah,
Well, tuna casserole, fish on Fridays, all of that stuff,
yeah.
and the names. And so what was it like writing for you? Like looking back in that way, did you find it was a specific Maureen that was looking back, or is it just general, or what
Yeah,
was it like?
I do feel like that I captured a very specific age range that's very important and very instrumental in who I am as an adult now. I didn't realize that when I was writing because I was looking at the blank page for a long. I was like, wait, what? What do I? Um, yeah, and then I just started, jotting down, and then I realized when I finished it how I was so looking at this little mini microcosm of my life that really influenced me, and it felt really good. It was very heartbreaking in a way, to have to speak about my father like that. That's who he was,
Mhm.
and not knowing him, it reminded me how he was in my life, even though he wasn't in my life.
Mhm.
Because you forget, like it's easy. Like I forget I have cancer sometimes. I was like,
Mhm.
you forget. So it was an interesting reminder, and I felt like it was teary. I actually read it this morning, and
Mhm.
it teared up, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect that because I'd written it when haven't looked
Mhm.
at it since I sent it to you like weeks ago, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I better read that again. Um, so yeah, give me all the feels. It made
I
me
feel like satisfied when that happens when I write something. When it hits me, I feel like, oh, I've gotten to the heart of something, at least in me, if it's
mhm,
touching me, because I know the story. It's like how you can't tickle yourself,
right.
but if you can like evoke emotion in yourself, I think you got something.
I think so. I think that as a writer, you look if somebody you try to find words that bring some feeling up, and I feel like as the writer, you're a writer. If you're having the feelings, then certainly somebody else is going to have those feelings too.
Hmm.
And I think that's the core of what storytelling's all about. Like even if it's a poem, like you're just telling this story that means something on some level, one way or the other. So
And it's like a micro memoir. Someone mentioned that, and I was like, it is.
yeah,
I can't remember who said that, but
yeah, that's
thank
a
you to whoever that was.
yeah, that's actually a great. See how we are with the names. I'm like, if I call you Ashlyn, I'll be like, Alyson, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I thought your name was Maureen, something else at first because I had some other Catholic last name in my head. I can't remember what it was, but some other Irish. And I was like, oh no, it's Barry. You know.
Well, it's funny because Kavanaugh is my maiden name, of course, and you know, when I for 3 years now at the hospital, they call me Kavanaugh, and my husband, my husband's like, "Did you tell them it's Barry?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess they see it like because it's such a long name, it
Mhm.
prints out on the order forms." So it's so
Right.
funny at first. So now we just laugh at it. We're like, and I even made a mention of it in my memoir I'm writing about the whole cancer process and how one scene was we were sitting the first time they did it. We were like, are they talking to me? Like,
Yeah.
so funny, but
Did you um, did you have any other reflections, or did you find at all that it fed into your book? Like, was there overlap with your book, or was it just a separate thing on its own?
um,
Because
it's interesting you ask. The I'm with in a class with like Brooke Warner and Linda Joy Mayers, two memoirists. They have that course, right? That write your memoir in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on an intake form. You have to say what you're writing about, and then you have a couple calls. And on one of the calls, Brooke, who's my mentor, we were talking about some of these things, like these childhood memories. And
Mm-hmm.
when I told her I had 12 kids, she goes, "Okay, I think you got a whole other story there." So
Yeah.
I can see, yes, that would be part of a story, but
Mm-hmm.
not particularly this story.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important to make that distinction. I was just talking to Ronit before this, and we were talking about memoir, and I was talking about her podcast with Jane Friedman, and she does a really good job of talking about memoir is not an autobiography.
Right.
You know, it's not your life from when you were born to now.
Right. Correct.
It's you going on a journey and having a beginning, middle, and end. It could be a week, a month, a year, you know. And so I think
It's
that makes sense that it's about
a very truncated kind of like of an experience. For me, it's, from the time I was diagnosed until present. And there is
mm-hmm.
some backstory that feeds into that you weave
Mm-hmm.
in those scenes as narrative. But yeah, I don't think any of that is, maybe the avocado green stove when it comes to the
Mm-hmm.
food of the
Mm-hmm.
story, because I really had a hard time eating during my
Mm-hmm.
cancer
Sure.
treatment. And I mean, at the point where I was malnourished and they were going to send me
Mm-hmm.
home with palliative hospice, I was like, oh no, wait, no, you can't do that.
Yeah. I get really affected there when I'm nervous or going through something traumatic. So that really like hits me in the gut, really, like, because I can imagine feeling similarly if I was going through something like that. Like, I don't know, sometimes it's difficult to nourish or impossible because of the other things that are going on.
Yeah, what do you mean?
When I get really nervous or anxious, my stomach's just like, nope.
Oh,
And if I was dealing with chemotherapy drugs, I can imagine that I would have a hard time eating and
yeah.
keeping
Well,
it down.
it wasn't even the chemo. It was the actual tumor itself.
Oh, wow.
I had it. The tumor was 21 pounds
Oh my
in
God.
my abdomen, and
Wow.
it had wrapped from its inception was my left kidney, and there's a lot of cavity space in the back of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Behind the kidneys where the tumor actually started to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wrapped itself around my side and and then filling up into my front abdomen. And when it started putting pressure on my stomach, like in late February, I realized I was like not be able to eat without discomfort.
Wow.
And I was like, why is my stomach hurting? I started a food journal. I was like, I'm not even eating 1,000 calories a day.
Interesting.
And yeah, so I called the doc. I went to the GI and ran some tests. And then that's when they found he said, let's do a CAT scan. Because I explained my, issues. And so there it was. And they found it. So there was this massive tumor like growing. And it was growing all through my chemotherapy through the summer. Like the chemo it was just nuts. I was like, this cancer is so aggressive. This has got to stop somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I couldn't eat because of the tumor itself my stomach was being pushed up into my heart.
Oh, I'm so glad you had a doctor who took your complaints seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we just, we found the best specialist we could in the area, which was about 3 hours east of, and yeah. And then they were just like, oh yeah, we can take care of this, but it's going to hurt before it's all over. So yeah, the chemo does create like huge problems anyway for eating. But yeah, it had kind of a double whammy going on. It's quite the miracle I'm alive, actually. Yeah.
Yay for miracles.
I know, because I got things to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here for miracles. So,
So
that's incredible.
It's a pretty incredible story, actually.
God, what our bodies can survive is just like astounding.
Astounding that I went through all that, like a mess. And it's so funny because I couldn't even envision like what that looks like.
Right.
They don't tell you 21 pounds. They say, oh, it's like 31 centimeters by 19 by 24, blah, blah, blah. And you see this CAT scan and you're like, okay, that's definitely not looking good. Well, after the surgery, I was in, the hospital, and they were just, the doctors were astounded, like coming in, like, you can't believe this, we're just 10-hour surgery. Like, this is a miracle. And at one point, one of the interns came in and said, we took pictures of Dr. Dowdy, like holding your tumor. And I was like, oh, I would like to see that. and the guys, the interns, like, showed me the picture, and she's like holding like a baby like this in her arms. Like, it was just this, I was like, that was exciting. Wow. But it included like a lot of other things. Like, they took my spleen and 2/3 of my pancreas, about 60% of my colon. And I mean, that thing was like wrapped around my vena cava, which made it incredibly dangerous. Like, it was very dangerous. He's like, oh, I had to scrape that off your diaphragm. I'm like, oh my God. What?
I just recently had a friend have a hysterectomy, and I'll be because of endometriosis, and not that it's the same, but it's a similar sort of having to clear things out.
Yeah, just got right.
That are growing. Yeah, like you say, there's space down there.
There's space. You don't even realize. Like, I was like, I had to look at photos of myself. I literally was like looking at images of myself. Like, because people were like, how did it get that big and you didn't know? And I'm like, I have to tell you, like, I was at the gym every day. I was at the gym. I had a trainer. I was in yoga. I hired a trainer. I was like, I want to do a handstand with my yoga practice by the end of the year. Like, how? So, at one point I was like, at first I was like, is this middle-aged spread? Because I'm not liking this at all. What's going on here, right? And then really I started looking back at photos of myself, like, did I miss something? And I did not. Like, you could not tell. And the doctor said, because you have all that empty cavity space in the back, that thing had a chance to just grow I was like, man, it's nuts. It's nuts.
It is. It's so interesting, though, to hear your reflection, because I would do the exact same thing. Like, look back at pictures and think, and like, was your white blood cell count up or anything? Like, you really just had no clue. That's like,
I wasn't ill. I didn't have like any other symptoms other than like I couldn't eat without discomfort.
Right. But that's like, can be so many things.
So many. Which way I was like, do I have GERD? Is this GERD? That's why I went to the GI. I was like, I need an upper, and let's just do a colonoscopy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, by the way, my stomach's a little bloated and I can't do uti bande. He goes, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, it feels like there's something in there. Oh my God. He goes, and he came over and he goes, let's take a CT. Oh my God.
It feels like there's something in there.
Okay, let's do that, doctor.
Oh my God, our bodies are such mysterious beings.
It's really nuts. I'm like, and so it's funny, after that, I was like, I can survive anything after that.
Seriously. That's epic. I'm sure seeing the pictures was just unbelievable.
I'll text you the picture if you don't
mind. I have to say, because I've had some cysts removed. I actually had melanoma and had that removed. And it was not small, so I can sort of imagine, and it was tiny, 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 tiny on my skin.
Tiny on the skin. They take so much. I mean, oh my God. They take so much. Nuts. How I was like, I had two. Right after the cancer, I was like, okay, now the chemo is really, because it really does destroy your body, everything. Yes. Like, and I was like, oh great, now I have 2 melanomas have to be taken. And my scars are like huge. I'm like, wait, that wasn't even like the size of a pin. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, they're like, we got good margins. I'm like, I hope so.
Yeah, after all that, right?
I have a dent in my leg, so I hope that you got good margins.
Exactly.
Because there's not a lot of cavity space there, So yeah, I was like, it's fine. I'll drive myself. I was just completely should not have driven myself. No, I just thought, it's no big deal.
Right. Yeah.
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 So,
I'll text you. It's funny because every time I go to the doctor now, I'm like, I'm proud of my tumor. I'm like, hey, do you want to see what I did? I see what I survived.
I mean, I think that's a really positive thing for them to see too. It's like,
They
did
just
you
look at people are just
survive it?
like, you're gonna just, So I'm gonna tell you anyway in the text, brace yourself because it's
Yeah, I'm
unbelievable.
ready. 21 pounds. Holy cow.
21 pounds.
This has become a cancer awareness month, also. It's
Oh,
poetry month, and although it's not cancer, melanoma's next month, I think. Anyway,
oh, it is. Oh, nice.
when's cancer awareness? Isn't that?
October.
Oh,
October's
okay.
kind of a big month because it's
You're
breast
way too
cancer.
early. Hmm.
Lipoma, which is what I had, is in July,
Okay.
and the symbol for liposarcoma, or for sarcoma, I should say, is a sunflower.
Oh, I love sunflowers.
Me too. I love sunflowers. So
Well,
you see,
this has been.
my bio, and it says liposarcoma survivor with a sunflower in the name.
Oh, your website's very lovely. I recommend it to everyone.
Thank you.
It's a lovely website. And Maureen does a lot of. Do you have any art right there? You can just like hold up.
No, I don't. I don't.
Maureen does a lot of very cool art.
I do have, I started doing quite a bit of art reels on
Yeah,
my
yeah.
Instagram. So yeah, and I'm doing my first art show in live person Saturday.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thanks. Well, it's part of a big kind of
Whatever. It's
thing.
all great.
It's
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. It's exciting. It's exciting to have. They wanted me to come last year, and I didn't feel confident because I'm new to art.
Mm-hmm.
At an older age, I kind of fell back. Cancer actually helped me like reignite my passion for art. And so I just started taking myself a little more seriously about that and said, okay, I'm going to do this. And yeah, took some classes and joined some groups. So now I'm going. And I have I want to say I've got about 30 pieces of original art in various sizes, small, nothing bigger than like 11 by 14, which, and then I got prints of a lot of things. So there's the price range. I've got some small thank you notes and greeting cards that are
I love those.
affordable, and some bigger pieces that are a little more expensive.
Well, I hope it goes swimmingly.
Thanks. I'm glad the weather looks good. It's not going to rain, so that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Maureen. I really appreciated our conversation and your poem and meeting you.
Thanks, Alyson. It's been really good to meet you too. And I feel like I know you already. I have known you already for some time. So
it does feel like that. It's funny,
yeah,
but it is nice to actually meet people and hear
it
them
does.
speak. And
Lovely. This is such a lovely thing, and I have really been enjoying myself listening to all of the poetry
oh,
on your
yay!
YouTube. Yes, it's
That's
been
so
really
nice.
inspiring. I'm like, listen to these lovely little. They're like mini memoirs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a joy for me. I love talking to people about like not just the weather or definitely not politics. So it's nice to hear about. I like hearing about where people are from. This like is totally my sweet spot. So it's been a real joy for me.
Yeah, it's been a lovely, lovely time. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Maureen. Have a great art show.
Thanks so much.
Bye.